The architecture industry is getting slammed. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter, and Florian.Heise here for HeiseSays. I have my morning stein of coffee, and I have thrown my carnal tide out the window today with all the chocolate I've been eating with the children. So if you hear them running around screaming like little banshees, you know why. Because they got chocolate from mum and dad, they got chocolate from their auntie, they got chocolate from their grandparents, and they're going nuts. Let me know how you're all surviving as well, guys. So I thought we would have a look at this article from Fast Company, because it's talking about how the architecture industry is getting slammed at the moment by this global pandemic. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, forgive me, but I am actually an architect, and my wife and I have been in practice for several years, through the good times and the bad. And our industry is, I'd say in many ways, a canary in the coal mine for the construction industry. When we slow down, there's a bit of a lag to the builders and trades. But architects generally cop it pretty hard when times get tough. Lots of Uber drivers and taxi drivers using their architectural skills. So let's have a look at this. I'm not at all surprised. I've heard in the comments some people, other architects were saying that the businesses were cutting. They were cutting staff, cutting capacity. During the last slowdown, I know Rachel, when she was working just as a student, they cut her down to 4 days a week or even 3 days. So it gets tough out there. So nearly every industry is getting pummeled by the spread of the illness, and architecture is no exception. In late March, the American Institute of Architects conducted a survey of 387 architecture firm leaders, and the results suggest a deep, uncertain future for the profession. 2/3 of the firms that responded said projects had either stopped or slowed down as a result of the illness, and a whopping 94% said they anticipate revenue to dip. Respondents expected their losses to only deepen in April. Now, here's the thing, guys. Architecture is not as lucrative as a profession as lots of people believe. Particularly as an employee or as a new graduate, you're earning very little, frankly, for the amount of study and qualifications that you have. And Australia really isn't any exception. I mean, Rachel and I, we went to QUT, so it's a bit different. Our course was structured, and they don't do it like this anymore, where you would have one day at university, and that would be like an 8 a.m. day to a 9 or 10 p.m. day, and you do all your uni subjects on that day. And then you would work in an office for 4 days a week. So you would have real-world experience, and you'd get paid. You'd get paid. It wouldn't be an internship, wouldn't be for free, you'd get paid. And I remember when there was the mining boom, all this mining work, architecture students, particularly QUT ones, because you could draft and you'd run projects, you'd be getting paid well above award. Well above award. And that was good times. That was really good times. That's when we were studying. So you came out with a lot of experience. You didn't have any, illusions of what the profession was about. But the challenge was you had to do your uni work while you were doing full-time work. So, we had lots of late nights, lots of really late nights, because architecture is a very labor-intensive process compared to some other courses. You've got to build models, do lots and lots of drawings, and then maybe you need to change your whole idea, present. So it can be quite rewarding, but it can also be very long hours. There is a reason why I drink coffee in half-liter steins, guys, because I've done a lot of late nights during my uni days. So let's have a look back at this. But getting back to my QUT comments, the advantage was that we came out working, we had the experience, but they've culled all that now. And I remember back then when things started to slow down, it was harder for students to get work too. The damage will be far-reaching, impacting individual practices, firms, and the profession at large. Firms are already furloughing workers and slashing pays. Foster & Partners, one of the most prominent architecture firms in the world, announced that its 1,400 workers would take a 20% pay cut for 3 months. In New York, architects working on public projects have been ordered to suspend their design work indefinitely. Many architecture firms are small businesses, Dan Hart, AIA's at-large director, pointed out. Small businesses have been especially hard hit by the economic fallout from the pandemic. Well, we're also a small business here. I mean, one advantage Rachel and I have had is that about 2 years ago we had a big slowdown. We lost a client, or one project just stopped, and that was pretty much a year's worth of revenue that I had tied up in one client. I had 3 people there, so I had to make some drastic cuts because that project disappeared. And that's the challenge, particularly for a small business, particularly when you work on big projects, because a big project can take up a whole lot of time, a whole lot of staff. And I'd fallen into that trap 3 times before, or no, 3 times in total actually, where I'd be seeing like, okay, the 60, 70, 80% of revenue coming from one source, one client, one huge project. And that always scared me. Because I'd have to invest a lot of time, money, and equipment to service that. And if something were to happen, there you go. So a lot of my effort as a director was getting out there and bringing more work in to keep a diversity of work, just to keep everything moving, which is a lot of work and a lot of challenge. So, I mean, we've scaled back the practice. We went from, I think it was 6, 7. At one point, we even had 12 when you count all the part-timers working for us. And now, the whole model I've changed is just Rachel and I, contractors as we need it. Frankly, in some ways, it's more profitable and less stressful. That's another story. I guess you just need to go through those experiences in life to learn from them. So, I mean, guys, let me know in business, have you had a similar tale? Maybe we just grew too quick. So, let's have a look. The main impact on firms. So as far as increasing staff working remotely, limited in-person meetings, percent of firms reporting conditions that apply to their office at present, virtually all staff are working remotely, 48%. Some staff are working remotely, 31%. Many of our staff are currently unable to work due to personal situations, 1%. Some or all of our staff are currently able to work due to personal situations, 15%. We're limiting in-person client meetings, moving meetings to virtual, 79%. This will result in a culture shift. This will definitely result in a culture shift. Just think of all that time you can save going to meetings, driving around, parking, when you could just do it all online on Microsoft Teams. So firms with public projects underway in international locations are potentially the most at risk, as 47% of them have instituted a no-travel policy indefinitely, according to the survey, making it difficult to visit sites and maintain construction schedules. Firms that focus on residential architecture may be in even hotter water, the survey suggested. They have gotten far fewer inquiries for new design contracts. 25% of the firms that responded expect a 15% loss in revenue this month. That number may only increase as stay-at-home orders continue. If other creative fields are any indication, layoffs could accelerate. The length, intensity, and uncertainty of this crisis will impact both the funding of and opportunity for construction, Hart said. Gainful employment for architects is positively affected by shortening the impact of the crisis, flattening the infection curves, and introducing more certainty in containing the spread of the virus. So what's to be done? In the short term, firms can take a few measures to offset the magnitude of their losses. Aside from applying for emergency loans through the government's Payment Protection Program to pay for salaries, insurance, rent, and other operating costs, small firms of less than 500 people are eligible for loan forgiveness, and businesses that are forced to shut down completely can get a payroll tax credit. So this is all in America here. Here in Australia, we have the JobKeeper program. Looking ahead, AIA CEO Robert Ivey says it's critical for the government to put more provisions in place to protect architecture and construction jobs, not just for the industry, but for society at large. To jumpstart the economy and bring architects and their critical design and construction economy back to life, we are strongly advocating for vertical infrastructure, buildings to be included in any additional stimulus bill, he writes in an email. The nation needs housing, healthcare, and health-related research facilities. A clear need at this time and schools. Architecture can and should create facilities that allow us to grow and heal, stimulating the larger economy while creating safer and more healthful places. So, I mean, this is from America, but we've got similar things coming out from Australia, and this is from the ACA, the Association of Consulting Architects, and they're more kind of like we've got the Royal Australian the Australian Institute of Architects that dropped Royal. We've got the ACA, which is more directed at practice managers or practice owners. I've kind of stepped away from being involved in any of these organizations simply because I don't have the time anymore, to be honest. Rachel and I were involved with the RAIA for years, and it cost a lot, actually. It cost thousands of dollars to have those post-nominals after your name. And I just can't justify it at the moment, to be honest. I just can't justify it. The ACA has released the preliminary results of the ACA Pulse Check number 2. Top-line findings reveal serious concerns about workflow, financial impact, and employment. But the survey also shows that architectural practices are adapting quickly to the changing work environment. Well, I'm not too surprised. I mean, architects, we work in the digital world often, doing a lot of modeling, animation, drawing on the computer. So take, even our point cloud scanning business, we're capturing it digitally, all the sites. So transferring to a digital method where we're communicating like this for projects isn't that big a step. Sure, some of the older practice people may have a bit of trouble working Zoom, but so this was conducted between the 29th and 31st of March. It aims to better understand the impacts of the illness on architectural practices so far and what practices need. This will inform material the ACA develops to support members and the wider profession. I don't mind the ACA, actually. I like the content they produce. The survey was answered by 777 practices, employing over 7,740 full-time equivalent technical staff and over 1,141 full-time equivalent casual technical staff. More than half of the practices, 58%, are very small businesses employing 5 people or fewer. The survey also has good representation from larger practices, particularly from New South Wales and Victoria, comprising half of the respondents, with good representation from the smaller states. I mean, that tells you all just what my industry is like, guys. There's a lot of small operators, a lot of small, one-man bands, two-man bands. Having a husband and wife architectural practice is not a rarity, everyone. It is not a rarity. Because you pair off at uni and you just keep going. Key findings. Of the responding practices, 89% have had projects cancelled or put on hold or anticipate that projects will be cancelled. 89%. The value of cancelled or delayed work for responding practices is over $5 billion. Wow. A high proportion of practices are now working remotely. While there are challenges, many have found that staff have adapted quickly to the new conditions. Nonetheless, there is a need for support and information about managing remote workforces. A high proportion of practices are confident in the mental well-being of the practice and people. Of the responding practices, 40% have processes in place to support well-being, while another half are looking into or would like advice. Many respondents contributed ideas about how their practice is looking after people, with a focus on open communication and regular contact. Productivity is down in most offices, but nearly half the practices expect to recover fairly or very quickly. Well, yes, I mean that makes sense when you're transitioning from office premises to offsite. There's always going to be a productivity hit. There are considerable impacts on employees. A very high proportion, 78% of responding practices, are either currently negotiating changes to employment agreements or expect to need to do so. I wonder how many of those are going to look at cutting people. Most responding practices, 92%, hope the government wage subsidy will enable them to keep people on. What does that tell you guys? If 92% are hoping the JobKeeper will let them keep people, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So let's jump over here and have a look at the results. So you can see here where they responded. You're getting most from the capital city. Where's your practice located? In Queensland, most in the capital and some regional. I mean, here's the thing. in Queensland, getting architects to work up north in the regions, it's always been a difficult challenge, or at least for the architects up there to get staff up there. And the quality of life would be pretty good. Northern Territory, 6-1, South Australia, Tasmania, Western Australia. How many people does your practice currently employ in this state? So there you go, 1 to 5. So we'd be in there. I mean, we're at this level at one stage. Wow. Shows you just the industry. What type of premises does your practice operate from under normal circumstances? So most from a single location, 84 of offices in more than one location, and 139 are like me with a home office now. That's probably the best saving that I've done, is moving the office back here. It saved a lot of money. So what percentage of your staff are working from home this coming week? And this is the 30th of March. And you can see here 100%, 90%, 50%. So most are working from home. How well is the office adjusting to the new working conditions overall? Quite well, 39%. Very difficult, only 2%. Does the office already have experience managing remote workers? No, it's a whole new deal for 41%. 41%. I mean, there you go. That tells you just how our industry hasn't really adapted much in the past. So 17% have a lot of experience and 40% have some. Productivity. What has been the impact on the productivity? 45 of the answering firms have increased. Most of it has reduced by 20%. How quickly do you anticipate the office will return to normal levels? We don't expect it. 78, 79. Quite slow, fairly quickly, and quite quickly. So well-being, very good. Most are good. How would you rate the mental well-being of the practice at the moment? I mean, very worried, slightly worried, neutral. So younger employees juggling other commitments, employees overall, senior management practice overall. So the management, how are they going? See, the managers are the most worried. The senior managers are the most worried. You know why? Because they're seeing where future work is coming from. That's why they're the most worried. Does the practice have processes to check on people's well-being and challenges? How are the following creating challenges for your practice? Disruptions. Well, let's have a look here from Pulse 2, the preliminary results. Changing workplace arrangements. Is the practice negotiating changes to employment arrangements? Not yet, but we expect that we may need to. 45%. Yes, 33%. And no, 21%. So most of them are negotiating changes to employment or expect to. Would a government wage subsidy enable you to keep people on? 46% say yes, 45% say we hope so, and only 8% say no. So there you go, guys. This is what they're doing. They're changing roles or duties. They're reducing hours, reducing pay, seconding staff to other practices. 86% of those are doing that. Standing down staff. So not considering. Oh wait, no. That yellow is not considering. Already in use and considering. So 50% aren't standing down staff. 60% aren't doing redundancies. 80% aren't seconding people. But you can see where people are doing it. But also 265 people skipped that question. So, I mean, there you go. Has the practice had projects cancelled or put on hold? 66%. And 23% anticipate it will happen. Has your practice accessed financial support from the government stimulus? No, but we are not yet, but we're investigating. That was the majority of it. Yes, 8%. What percentage of projects in the office have been cancelled or put on hold? Well, there you go. Some practices have had 100% of projects cancelled. So there you have it, guys. I mean, this is an interesting insight into the architectural profession here in Australia and in the US. I mean, it's going to be tough for the game, particularly if there are more hits to construction. We'll have to see, guys. If you're in the industry, let me know. How are you going? How is your firm going along? We're in quite a good situation because we're so small. It doesn't take much to keep us busy anymore. So we kind of lucked out. We had a project client doing government work and is still continuing. I can't really say that I anticipated that or claim any, fantastic, forward planning by Florian. It's just kind of work that we do, that fell on our plate, really. It's just luck. So let me know how you're going, guys. What strategies are you putting in place to kind of deal with it? Are you cutting people's hours, looking at other work, other opportunities? If you're in the trades or construction, are you starting to see it flow through to your part of the game yet as well? Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel here on YouTube for a small monthly fee or on Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay for your consumer purchases, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin for the crypto traders out there. We have merch available from Teespring or HeiseSays. You can send us gold using Gold Pass, and you can also support us via PayPal. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.